going. I'm just gonna get straight into it. Not gonna apologize for making a Ipetgoat2 video. I'm actually gonna make several of them. Um, as of right now, I'm not going to get into specific dates that could possibly point to 2023 or 2024. That's gonna be later. What I want to focus on today is Lily and who I think she represents and why she is in such a state, in such a dazed and hypnotic state, confused, so to speak. Maybe she's trapped within a magic circle and she can't get out. That's her proverbial desert, so to speak. Let me just read you some short mythology about Lilith. So I don't want to get into her feud with Adam in the garden, but let's just say there was a disagreement. Well, first of all, let's just get into the very basic mythology. Lilith is a female figure in Mesopotamian and Judaic mythology, alternatively the first wife of Adam, and supposedly the primordial she-demon. Lilith is cited as having been banished from the Garden of Eden or not complying and obeying Adam. She is mentioned in Biblical Hebrew in the book of Isaiah, and in late antiquity in the Mandean mythology and Jewish mythology sources from 500 CE onwards. Struggle continues until Lilith becomes so frustrated with Adam's stubbornness and arrogance that she brazenly pronounces the Tetragrammaton, the ineffable name of the Lord, God's name, YHWH, translated as Lord God in most Bibles, and roughly equivalent to the term Yahweh, has long been considered so holy that it is unspeakable. During the days of the Jerusalem temple, only the high priest said the word out loud, and then only once a year, on the Day of Atonement in the Jewish theology and practice. There is still mystery and majesty attached to the God's special name. The Tetragrammaton is considered to be the name that comprises all Zohar. In the Bible's burning bush episode of Exodus 3 explains the meaning of the divine name, I am what I am. Lilith sins by imprudently uttering the sacred syllables, thereby demonstrating to a medieval audience her unworthiness to reside in paradise. So Lilith flies away, having gained power to do so by pronouncing God's avowed name. Though made of earth, she is not earthbound. Her dramatic departure reestablishes, for a new generations, Lilith's supernatural character as a winged devil. In the Gilgamesh and Isaiah episodes, Lilith flees to the desert spaces. The alphabet of Ben Sir, her destination is the Red Sea, site of the historic and symbolic importance to the Jewish people. Just as the ancient Israelites achieved freedom from Pharaoh at the Red Sea, so Lilith gains independence from Adam by going there. But even though Lilith is the one who leaves, it is she who feels rejected and angry. The Almighty tells Adam that if Lilith fails to return, 100 of her children must die each day. Apparently Lilith is not only a child-murdering witch, but also an amazingly fertile mother. In this way she helps maintain the world's balance between good and evil. So this is just a thought, okay? But this tragic event in Texas kind of sparked me to think. The blue figures behind Lily, presumably Lilith, may be sacrificed children. And she's sacrificing these children because she has been hypnotized there was a spell cast on her, and she does not remember who she is, and she believes that in order to break free from her bondage, get it, the Statue of Liberty, stuck in shackles, in order to break free, she must sacrifice children. Now, I spoke about earlier in the community posts about the two great American eclipses from 2017 to 2024, and I believe it is a possibility that these blue figures, each of them representing a celestial event or a moon, a specific moon, and around the time frame of that moon, there was a ritual sacrifice that took place. So recently we had the blood moon eclipse, and shortly after, a sacrifice. And it could be the case with these, but that's not what I wanted to make this video about. I wanted to make this video because she's basically in a dialogue between herself and Obama, which I believe represents Osiris or Satan. And basically what Osiris is trying to do is to refresh her memory by giving her the apple from the Garden of Eden, and hoping that she would take a bite so that she wouldn't have to sacrifice any more children. But she's under hypnosis. She cannot remember the garden. Therefore, she does not. She hands over the responsibility of bringing back the Garden of Eden to the god of the underworld, because she is in shackles. She is unable to do so. And there is a time limit to where this can occur. If she doesn't realize who she is by a specific time, then the entire world must be sacrificed in order to reset the world and bring back the garden by unleashing and birthing the god of the underworld, or resurrecting, if you will, through ritual sacrifice. And I was talking about how each of these blood moons and eclipses is like a cipher that unlocks a code which will ultimately create the crossing. The crossing will create the resurrection of Osiris, the false Christ, who will reset the world in a massive ritual sacrifice in order to bring back the garden, the same garden that Lily will leave again, and will be trapped in a magic circle again, because she's in a loop. At least it's a representation of a loop. She is bound. What she used to be was a sacred divine feminine energy. She has been imprisoned, and she no longer maintains balance between good and evil, like I read. Just before I go on, so here is X marks the spot, right over Cairo, Illinois, right over that earthquake zone in Missouri, actually. And that's just incredibly strange that these two eclipses go right over a town called Cairo, less than 100 miles from Memphis, that has a pyramid in a massive river, which is an allegory for the Nile. So basically, the U.S. is the zone that will be sacrificed to reset the world and bring back the Garden of Eden. Um, unless Lily somehow breaks out of her magic circle and is able to, you know, restore everything without a reset. If she could snap out of her hypnosis, so to speak. But she can't. But Obama's nervous too. He's nervous too because he understands the amount of destruction he has to partake in order to attempt to satisfy Lily, because she can't stop sacrificing. She thinks her mind is corrupted. She thinks that is what she has to do to return to the garden. All she has to do is eat the apple. That's all she has to do, but she can't. She thinks she has to keep sacrificing children. And being that Osiris here is very nervous because of the tremendous responsibility he has to reset the world and to try to satisfy Lily's desire for blood. So it implies that this Lily has more power than him, doesn't she? She's in the form of a little girl, innocent white dress. But I actually think that this Lily and this mother, I can't find her right now, even though they're officially different characters, I think they represent the same idea. Anyway, this does not mean that this is what I believe in, just so everyone knows. Okay, these are just ideas that have come through. Some of them my own, some of them I've read, but I just couldn't help but notice the hypnotic gaze in Lily's eyes. And look, even in the Heliofont website, if you read about Lily, she thinks that the apple does not belong to her. And suddenly a starting realization arose in Lily. This apple is not mine, she thought. It belongs to someone else. But she holds the apple. She's the apple of God's eye, the sacred divine feminine that maintains balance in the world. Since she doesn't remember that, though, she cannot maintain balance, and havoc is rained on the earth to ultimately bring about the ultimate sacrifice. That's all for today. I'm going to come back to this, ladies and gentlemen, 2 or 3 more videos. Thank you.